What's poppin', y'all? It's your boy Pee Wee the Plug. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we got to talk about the James Harden trade. Before we dive into that, though, I just want to remind everybody at home, make sure you hit that like button for me. And if you're new and you enjoy this type of basketball content, make sure you subscribe. Last night, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. It was one of those long days for me. I'm laying in my bed. The Lakers game had went off. And I was a little disappointed because I wanted Jalen Suggs to make that shot for overtime. That's just me being a selfish basketball fan. No hate against the Lakers at all. And I'm watching TV, trying to go to bed. Don't know why I'm not asleep. And my phone goes off. And I'm like, should I ignore it and really be an adult and focus on going to bed because I got a podcast to do in the morning? Or should I just give in to the temptation of seeing what this is? I flip over the phone and I see a fantasy basketball notification. I'm like, what are they? They always send messages about like, you should drop this player, guys to look out for, or you're losing, or you're winning, whatever. So I just look, and because it recognizes my face, it shows me the actual alert, and it says James Harden has been traded. And I was like, whoa. So I hurry up and click over on Twitter to make sure I get the details. The details didn't come out until, I don't know, another 30 minutes. I'm refreshing. I'm searching this, that, and the third. I'm thinking maybe somebody isn't reporting it just because they want to be fast. And I end up not seeing the details for quite a while. But that was extremely exciting. I love this. This has become a part of the game. Not to make myself sound super old or anything like that. Y'all already be calling me Unk in the comments. That makes me old or feel old. But growing up for me, we had two times where player movement and trades and things like that really, could get you excited, or you really look forward to those days, which was number one, the trade deadline. That was always a key day. It felt like trades were happening, and if they were ever going to happen, it was going to be on the deadline or very close to it. And there was also a lot of times growing up where the deadline was so damn dry, where like it was so many rumors and you have to go on a big computer and go to ESPN. You can read the rumors and see the what they used to call like the stove or whatever, and like what's heating up, and you get all excited like, man, it's gonna be 1,000 trades, and then the trade deadline come and it's like one trade and it's very small, and it's just like, bro, what happened? Now in today's era, we're fiending. All we want is player movement. Like, player movement is just so crazy, and we've just got so accustomed to it that we fiending. So I love when this type of stuff happens, especially 3 days into the season. This was rumored to be all summer. We talked about it in training camp. The Dame trade happened a little later than normally. The NBA is just crazy with the player movement. I love it. Y'all love it. It is what it is. We got, even in college basketball, like transferring all over the place. It's so hard to keep up with if you're not dialed in, but luckily, like myself, a lot of y'all are. As far as this trade, though, besides the excitement and how much I love player movement and the fact that it's happening, less than 5 games into the season, that's one of the positives I think that lays on the Clippers. You're acquiring James Harden, and most of the time when these type of trades happen, we're at least 2 months into the season, if not even later, trade deadline, and you have a small portion of time to really get acclimated and familiarize with that player and the current team. Luckily for James Harden and the Clippers, you basically have the full entire year to get acclimated and on the same page and have yourself enough time to, really form this chemistry in order to compete in the playoffs. And I think that's a key factor for them. A lot of things that's not being talked about with this trade, because it is James Harden. The fact that they got PJ Tucker and James Harden are like a package deal, which I hope PJ Tucker is like okay with. Because imagine if PJ Tucker was just like wanted to be in Philadelphia. He was just happy in Philly. He chilling. Now he like, dang, Harden, you just got. I'm moved out of nowhere. My family liked it over here or whatever. So I always wonder that, because PJ Tucker and James Harden, they like this as far as playing on the same team. But I love the fact that they got PJ Tucker. I love a lot of this for the Sixers as well. We'll get to them. On surface, the depth is in question. The wing depth off of the bench, because you gave up Batum, you gave up Covington, you gave up Marcus Morris. The one thing that I will say about this for the Clippers is the fact that, like, they have to go all in. This is a duo that started with Paul George and Kawhi. Obviously, it expanded. You got Ty Lue added to this, Russell Westbrook, Norman Powell. We've just seen so many different names be added. And the fact that the injuries and disappointments and shortcomings have led this team to not have the success that we thought that they would. I love the fact that now, this is like, what, the 4th or 5th year of this duo being together, all the chips are being pushed into the middle of the table. All of them. We going out and we bringing in Russ again. We doubling down. We made it known that we wanted James Harden from the jump of him requesting a trade. We went out. We got him. But more importantly, they didn't really give up anything. They don't really care about the draft picks. They have an owner who's trying to win and buy a championship. They don't really care about rebuilding or what the future is going to look like in 10 years. If they could get a championship in Los Angeles that has nothing to do with the Lakers and it's about the Clippers, they're going to it will carry so much weight for them as the little brother team in such a big market for the entire existence. It has been a Lakers town, and even with the championship, it probably will continue to be a Lakers town, but it definitely will give the Clippers some type of cachet and a way to boast out and poke their chests out just a little bit to the big brother Lakers. So I like that. You also have the fact that Kawhi and Paul George are getting to the end of those contracts. I believe they do have player options, if I'm not mistaken, that they could opt into for like the final years or whatnot, but they are inching closer and closer and closer. So to just double down on everything and make this team as best as they can and as overpowered, I actually like it for the cost. They wanted to hang on to Terrence Mann. They hung on to him. Norman Powell has a long-term contract, so the 76ers probably didn't want anything to do with that. Hey, that's a bonus for the Clippers. He is a guy that can come off the bench and do well. Looking back, obviously this guy left, but if they still found a way to have Eric Gordon on this team, I would be also a lot happier for them as well. But we know he's in Phoenix. I think Eric Gordon is the type of player that they need. Hopefully Norman Powell can step into that role. Thus far, through a few games, this is the best Bones Highland has looked with the Clippers. And over the last couple of years, obviously he could be better. I think he's averaging like 1 assist or something like that. But he's scoring the basketball. So now they have a team that looks like Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Zubac. You got Mason Plumlee, PJ Tucker, Terrence Mann, Norman Powell, Bones Highland. So they don't have the wing depth, but this team is built around 2 of the top premier two-way wings in the league. So they'll figure out how to stagger those minutes and make sure they always have at least one starter on the floor or something like that. I trust Ty Lue to be able to figure out that rotation. But on paper, the risk is worth the reward because Marcus Morris wasn't really giving you minutes, and when he was playing, he had Clipper fans extremely frustrated and pissed off. Batum has been like a good key piece of this team over the last few years. I've liked him for them, especially come playoffs where they want to do the small ball lineups and things like that, but he's a lot older. And then Robert Covington was cool, but with the Clippers, he never was the Robert Covington that NBA fans around the league and organizations had fell in love with as this 3-and-D versatile guy. Like I said, the draft picks, very minuscule for them. I don't think that they're going to lose any sleep over those draft picks. They kind of bit the bullet when they traded for Paul George and all of those draft picks that they gave to OKC. OKC, before we dive into Philadelphia, they sweep in on this. I love what Sam Presti did. They basically helped, get this deal done by sending a pick to Philadelphia because Philadelphia wanted to make sure that they had a guarantee pick. And they gave them their least favorable pick in 2026 because the Thunder have a bunch of those picks. And in return, they got a 2027 pick. So the Thunder are just loading up on picks. But that's just the gist on the Thunder. I know a lot of people are like, man, what are the Thunder doing? I was like that earlier. The Thunder have, I think, 3, maybe 4 2026 first-round picks to help facilitate this trade because Philadelphia wanted 2 first-rounders. They say, here, take the least favorable of those 3 picks, and then we'll just take this 2027 pick, and we now have an extra pick on that year. So they're just having abundance of picks all over the place. They'll probably start to look to make some big-time trades for a superstar talent. If Joel Embiid ever came available, they would have at least the draft capital figured out if they ever wanted to look down that route. So shout out to OKC for finding a way, again, to just build up the assets. Philadelphia. Now, when you talk about players, Don't really think Marcus Morris is going to be anything crazy for them. I don't really think that Robert Covington, full circle going back to Philadelphia where I started for him, I don't think he's going to be a major factor. There's some plug-in play type guys that, will give them some extra depth. They'll at least have some wing defenders and some bodies. Batum has always been a very good basketball player. He could come in, make some corner threes, off of the Tyrese Maxey kickouts and whatnot. But long term, these are just expiring deals. You bring in 2 first-round picks. You bring in 2 second-round picks. I believe some swaps or something is in there for them. So now that helps build them the skeleton of a potential trade that they could do down the line. And so far, they've been playing some good basketball. I give a lot of credit to Tyrese Maxey because his play early on has given them the confidence and the comfort to be able to just press the button on this trade. Daryl Morey has been known to drag these type of situations out, and for a long time, based off of how we saw this panning out, it looked like it was going to go that route. I was prepared to see James Harden play in Philadelphia again this season. Based off everything that I was reading, everything that I was seeing, James Harden trying to rejoin the team, him being on the bench the other day in street clothes, I was just like, oh, I guess James Harden is just going to play because nobody really wants him outside of the Clippers. The 76ers are trying to ask for Terrence Mann. The Clippers don't want to give him up. 2 first-round picks. Long story short, I thought he was going to play again. So Tyrese Maxey, I truly believe after these first few games, the front office said, hey, let's go see what we can get, or that deal that they were saying, maybe it ain't too bad after all. We'll take a bunch of expiring contracts. We don't want Norman Powell. Now going into next offseason, we'll have the 76ers 50 or up to $65 million in cap space. That's a lot of money for a team that has the building blocks of Joel Embiid, the reigning MVP, and Tyrese Maxey, who was looking to be on pace to be the most improved player and is averaging 30 right now. Tobias Harris is expiring deal. We'll see what happens in that situation. Even if he came back, it wouldn't be on the same type of deal. And in front of me, I have upcoming free agents for 2024. And it's some interesting names. Obviously, there's no game changer here because you have guys like I said, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. They are player options, if I'm not mistaken, that we all are expecting them to opt into. But I'm looking at people like Klay Thompson. He's going to be 34. Tobias Harris is already on your team. James Harden you already just had. But Pascal Siakam is an interesting name out here. Gordon Hayward, DeMar DeRozan, Buddy Hield. If all fails, you probably don't get a major star, but this is a situation where you can at least get a few things that complements you. You know what I'm saying? You can get a Buddy Hield complements the hell out of the Philadelphia 76ers, in my opinion. You could bring back Tobias Harris and then add a Buddy Hield. You can look deeper into the trenches and try to find you a 3-and-D, wing defender or something like that. I just love the fact that they're going to have extreme flexibility. Also, you don't really have to put all your cards into the 2024 free agency class. You definitely could look at trades like we talked about because you're going to have now picks and packages to put together. OG Anunoby is a name. Zach LaVine has already been a name that's been linked to them. I've seen Mikal Bridges, depending on what happens with the Nets. Maybe the Nets are just like, hey, Mikal is cool, but he's not ready to be the guy of a team. Maybe they're like, hey, he's just going to be a complimentary role player, because a lot of people were banking on Mikal Bridges to be in the MIP, doing the things that Tyrese Maxey is doing now. They thought, hey, maybe he can grow and become the face of the Nets and be their go-to guy. Through the first few games for them, it's been Cam Thomas. It hasn't been Mikal. It's not that Mikal is playing bad. Mikal is being him. He's scoring the basketball for sure. But being the guy is a whole different thing from just having extra more points that you're average. So Cam Thomas is like, hey, I'll take that situation. So yeah, that's gonna be something to watch for. I just think that's the best thing. Even if this team just can't add anybody that's too dynamic or overpowering or is not the biggest name in the world, maybe they just add a couple guys on this list that are just cool players. You know what I mean? Maybe they just add a Buddy Hield. I didn't realize Buddy Hield is going to be 31. He's a lot older than I remember. But yeah, maybe they just you bring back Tobias Harris, you add Buddy Hield, you bring back DeAnthony Melton or something like that. And I'm trying to find like a wing that they would really like or love. I'm not really seeing a wing in this class. This class is a little Malik Monk is out here. So who knows? Who knows? You know what I'm saying? Who knows? Gary Harris. There's just some few names, nothing crazy, but definitely something out here to where you can just expand around the two. And I think that is always a plus in my opinion. I am always under the impression, I used this theory for the Celtics years ago, the less is more theory. I don't always believe that when you have an abundance of cap space that you need to sign 2 max players. We got enough for 2 max players, so now we have to go and get 2 max players. I'm under the impression of just getting better. You have Joel Embiid, and I think you should have enough information and enough history to see what type of players are going to fit around him perfectly. We've seen him with Ben Simmons and not the best spacing. We've seen him with James Harden. We now are going to be able to see him with Tyrese Maxey. We've seen him with star-studded team, Jimmy Butler, all these different type of guys. You now have enough information. You now are going to have cap space and flexibility to go out and legitimately put the best talent of players that you can around him. And I think if this isn't the upcoming offseason to do it, then you spend wisely, you make proper moves, and then you continue to just search around. People are going to become available every single couple of months throughout the course of a season, throughout the course of an offseason. You got restricted free agency. You got player options. You got teams that probably will get exploded, like the Raptors, if they continue on the pace that they can. Hell, if the Hawks don't make any improvements this year, DeJounte could become available again. Trae Young could become available. There's just no telling on the landscape of the NBA. When the Clippers, who we were just talking about, got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, none of us would have ever imagined that. We knew Kawhi was on the move, but the Paul George trade came out of nowhere. You know, and then shortly after that, Brooklyn getting KD, Kyrie was one thing, but we never assumed that they would get James Harden after that. I didn't know that the Phoenix Suns were about to have Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker. So my point is, a lot of these guys becoming available and who is going to be on the market and, able to be acquired, we really don't know. So I appreciate teams who just don't panic and don't force it and kind of just find what makes them better. You don't always have to get the biggest name. We've seen that as well too, with a lot of different examples of teams trying to make things happen because it's just a name. We saw the Lakers and Russell Westbrook. That marriage was not it. And I felt like the Lakers kind of rushed that and just tried to throw something together. But that's my main thing for the Sixers. You have flexibility. James Harden didn't want to be there. You get rid of him, and now you all of a sudden is going to have $50 to $65 million in this upcoming offseason by getting rid of a guy who didn't want to be there. Beautiful. And then this Clippers on the other side, they get James Harden, who they wanted, with guys that they didn't really play. And when they were playing, they weren't really doing shit. So win-win for both sides. The Thunder jump in and get a win-win. The only loser in this trade is Furkan Korkmaz. It was reported that Furkan Korkmaz was like, hey, I'm requesting that you throw me in that damn trade. I want to go with James. And it was rumored that the Clippers were like, we good. So, I mean, he is the only loser because he's been asking them to get rid of him and trade. I think since Doc Rivers was there, which let me not say that like that was 5 years ago. Doc Rivers was just there last year. But yeah, I believe Furkan has been trying to get out of there for a minute, and he found himself in a position where he's like, oh man, I bet, yeah, throw me in that James Harden trade, and the Clippers was just like, I'm sorry, we can't do that. Danny Green got released so that they could fit the players on here. I don't believe that the Clippers are going to bring in Philip Petrosov, who I liked when he played at Gonzaga. I thought he was going to be solid in the NBA potentially. And I kind of forgot about him when he left Gonzaga and went overseas and then entered the draft and things like that. So all in all, yes, on the surface level, I think both of these teams win this trade. But down the line, I think the 76ers are going to benefit from this more. because they're going to have the ability to now really build this team around James Harden. And I think this is going to be a calling card for Daryl Morey and the next decade of 76er basketball. However they decide to use this flexibility, this cap space to build this next team, I'll let this year pass. This year they have the luxury of just going out there and hoop unless they make a move in the middle of the season, unless they go and get Pascal Siakam or OG Anunoby or Zach LaVine. Just play, be competitive. Tyrese Maxey take another step in his career, and then you go through the offseason with all of this money, all of this cap space. You absorb some people with some trades, or you sign some guys in free agency, and then you come into the next year with a freshly built team that you know is going to be complementary to Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. And then we readdress the 76ers and figure out how they're upholding upon the Eastern Conference and their competition. Now, if they can't do that the proper way, if they go out and let's just hypothetically say they signed DeMar DeRozan for whatever reason, and DeMar DeRozan and Embiid just, the fit is just not with the 76ers start. Not saying that they're going to do this, just an example. Then I believe Joel Embiid would probably be on his way out, and you'll have to reset all of this, and it'll just be a shit show, and then Daryl Morey will look like somebody who didn't know what he was doing. But I think this lines up good. You go out, I think OG Anunoby would be ideal, in my opinion. If you could get Mikal Bridges, that's like number one, because this is the ideal situation for him to be in, where you have a lead guard and somebody who can handle the ball like Maxey. You have, obviously, Joel Embiid, a double-double commander, elite player, your face. Mikal Bridges come in and take the toughest assignments on defense, and then he also is there to complement those guys, occasionally having to create his own shot, but more so his role is being to play off of those other two guys on a consistent basis. And that would be perfect, and you would have a little bit of money left to go in the offseason and kind of build that bench or build the bridge pieces that you need at the 4, at the 2, whatever. So long term, 76 to win. Short term, Clippers try to put themselves back into the mix in a heavy out west landscape to potentially go get Mr. Ballmer a championship. So I like this trade all around. Can't wait to see the actual product of the Clippers on the court for the first time. But yeah, I appreciate y'all. I am Pee Wee the Plug. Hopefully we get some more trade action. Karl-Anthony Towns, is he going to be traded? Pascal Siakam, is he going to be traded? Zach LaVine, OG Anunoby. Hopefully we get more player movement. I would love to continue to make one of these videos. If we can make a video like this once a month with the parity in the NBA, we're going to be locked in for a great year. I love y'all. I'm out. Peace.